Okay. One thing on recruiting salespeople, the best place to find good salespeople is in your network. The people that you know and the people that they know. If you have employees, recruitment bonuses for employees is a great source of recruiting salespeople. LinkedIn turns out to be a great resource. Salespeople are always trying to promote themselves on LinkedIn. And competitors, if you have a competitor in your space, target their salespeople. It's the fastest way for you to avoid a learning curve or shrink a learning curve. Steal someone from your competitor, which is always good. Hurt their sales effort, and have an established pipeline if they can bring prospects over. So competitors are a great place to find salespeople. How do you recruit from
competitors?
Have you ever worked somewhere and met a salesperson that wasn't happy? It's the same everywhere, right? So it's very likely that there's someone at a competitor that's unhappy, or that you can move away with a higher comp package or a percentage of the company if you don't have comp to offer, or better title. There's all, salespeople are one of the things I like about managing salespeople is they're pretty easy, right? There are certain levers to pull with them that you know is probably going to get their attention. A car lease, right? If you can give them a car lease or a bonus potential for bringing in a certain type of deal that sweetens their comp package. So there's a number of ways to do that.
Question?
How is recruiting a salesperson different from recruiting a manager or a marketer or something like that?
Yeah, I'm not sure it is, right? It's, you might look in different places, right? Salespeople tend to be out and about more. They tend to be more visible. They also tend to be more vocal when they're pissed off. So, in my experiences with salespeople, so I know what often, not all the time, but often what levers to pull with them, whether it's status or often money, to get them to make a shift. In my experience, they tend to be more visible.
Yeah, well, it sounds like they're easier to recruit than other positions. Easier to find, and it's easy to get a hold of a salesperson, right?
Yeah, because they always want to talk to you.
Exactly, right?
Yeah. And they also, if they're the creative type, right, they tend to be more open to innovative deals. Right? So as a young company, you have things that you can offer a salesperson. It doesn't have to be a $1 million comp package. Karen, feeding salespeople. Salespeople tend to be easily distracted. Give them.
Question?
Oh, sorry.
I was wondering if you have a slide on retention of salespeople.
Sort of. So this slide's about what salespeople need to be to feel supported, in my opinion. So if I go through this one and see if it answers your question. Salespeople, in my experience, tend to be easily distracted. It's certainly true of me. So helping them focus on a market, a prospect profile. The more that you can help them focus, the better off you'll be, and the more successful they'll likely be. We had a problem with a platform. It's super powerful and it's super flexible, but it can be everything to everybody, and we couldn't sell it at all. But when we built a solution around it, and we said, this is now an emergency notification solution. We knew who to talk to. We knew what the features and benefits of the package were. It really helped our sales team focus and get into more accounts. So focus is key. A good understanding of the company's value proposition You described a great value proposition earlier when we were talking about elevator speeches. But if we can help salespeople understand the value proposition of the product or solution that they're offering, it will help a ton. A good understanding of the market, so a good understanding of where they fit in the market, where the company fits in the market, the competitors, and what prospects look like. Salespeople do need some support. It's tough to be a salesperson out pitching a product that nobody knows about and that nobody's heard of. So developing some brand recognition, even if it's sort of guerrilla-based buzz out in the market, getting a company's name out so that it's recognized when the salesperson makes a sales call is super important. There will be some need for collateral. I know a lot of salespeople that say, I can't sell because I don't have a brochure or a fancy flash-based website. I tend to believe less in that some collateral is needed. So, a company overview and a two-page front and back slick on a product, I think is pretty key. And finally, a support network. In a big established company, that might look like product organization, legal, contract administrator. In a startup, it may be the CEO willing to go in and make a joint sales call. But salespeople don't typically come alone. They need technical sales resources, and they need an organization to back them up when that's available. Okay, I'm going to pause for just a second. We have a quick announcement.
So go ahead and continue. Aaron will just stay here and announce after you're done.
Okay. All right.
Question?
Keeping salespeople? Compensation planning helps an awful lot. Right. So the way I tend to put together comp packages for my salespeople is an equal split between commission and base salary. And then I typically try to focus them on something every year or every half year. The spiff I'm running right now is a competitive takeout. So I've targeted a number of competitors that I know are weak in the market, and I know that we have a product that competes well with them. And for in my company, every deal over $100,000, I'll give them $1,000. And the sales directors, so that I have sales directors that I work with, and then account executives that work with them. Sales directors in their organization, every 5 deals that I pay out to their salespeople, they get $5,000. So it's a great way to focus salespeople's sales organizations on a specific target.
What's the stand for?
Yeah, I have no idea. And it's funny because I knew somebody was going to ask me that. I don't know what it actually means. Yeah.
How do you compensate sales engineers?
In our organization, it's MBO plans. So in management by objectives. So the MBO plans in our organization are typically, they're run every quarter. So every quarter a sales engineer or an account manager will get 3 MBOs. And they either underachieve, achieve, or overachieve against those objectives. And if they hit 100% of them, they're paid out at 100% of the available MBO dollars. That's part of their comp package. It's typically an 80-20 split in my team. So 80% base salary, 20% is variable compensation for non-commissioned people. And that 20% is broken out and paid quarterly. achievement over 100% is paid out in MBOs at 125%. Achievement under but above an acceptable threshold is paid out at 75%. Below that threshold is not paid out. Which actually brings up an important point. For me, I don't pay salespeople commissions if they perform under 75% of target. So in order to be eligible for any commission, you need to achieve 75% or greater of your target. If you achieve under, you automatically go on a performance improvement plan. If you do that 2 quarters in a row, you're likely gone. So that's, sales is a high risk, hopefully high reward type business. Yeah.
Spiff goes back to 1859, and it was associated with when you made a sale, you're able to dress up more and hence be spiffy. And so according to Wikipedia.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I realized that you asked a question that I didn't answer earlier.
So
Is
think,
this helping?
Yeah, it does. And so I think there's nothing particularly special about salespeople. It's just understanding their needs, right, which are different than what an engineer's or a marketer's would be. So one question I do have, though, is that do you ever, how much do you use equity as compensation? Because from my understanding, salespeople tend not to want equity as much as they want the commission. So tying it to revenues versus growth.
I'd say it depends on the company, where the company is in the company life cycle. And early stage companies tend to draw a different type of salesperson. When Richard and I were running Mobile Evolution, we offered a VP of sales equity in the company. We felt like it was important to bring them in as a partner and to motivate them to grow the business. After that, we brought in a salesperson, and he didn't get equity, I don't think. That was pure base commission, a real traditional type sales comp package. But if you get a true believer in your value proposition as an early stage company, I know I'd take equity, and that would make me feel more of an owner in the business. Yeah.
In recruiting salespeople from a competitor, do you find non-compete agreements get in the way frequently, or is it a non-issue?
I've had my impression of non-compete agreements was that in Washington State, you didn't really have to worry about that. And then I signed one, and it kept me out of the wireless market for 18 months. And the whole world changed in those 18 months. Sadly, that's the only one that I've ever seen be a problem. I haven't run into, I call it 12 years of sales management stuff. The non-competes haven't been an issue that I've gotten that way. Yeah.
So many people will leave a company or feel free to leave a company if they don't have a positive relationship with people in them.
Mm-hmm.
Is that real kind of salespeople as well? Are you more likely to retain a salesperson who might have a better offer somewhere else that really are a great fit for your culture?
I think that's true of any employee. I would also say that I believe that salespeople are more apt to be recruited away than most. Certainly you'll find some salespeople that are incredibly loyal, but I think salespeople tend to feel like they can move around more than most other employees. Company culture, that's the primary work that we're doing at OpenMarket now as a senior leadership team, is to really define and drive into the organization at a deep level what our core values are, and we're working really hard on company culture. In fact, now when I interview people, I'm assuming that that others have interviewed them for skill fit. The only thing I'm interviewing people for is cultural fit. Do they embody the core values that we believe in at OpenMarket? And we believe that's going to develop a more cohesive, and it already has actually developed a more cohesive team where retention is higher, and people are more satisfied. We're having more fun at work.
That was going to be my next question. I was at Google for a long time, and the sales people, there was definitely a distinction between the sales culture and the rest of the company, and they were basically not respected in the same way, and they felt they were disempowered in the culture.
The salespeople felt disempowered.
Yeah. And like I didn't know any happy salespeople. So how do you, like if they're incentivized differently and they're paid differently and their goals are different, how do you merge them into your culture?
So I have a preconceived notion about Google that it is I'm trying to think of the right words, that it's an engineering-led, sort of data-driven organization. That respects that skill set, and not only respects that skill set, but disrespects other skill sets. And I don't know if that's true, but that's my outside impression. I think to your keeping people around, if you can get everybody to buy into, and it starts with the senior leadership team. It has to begin there, and senior leaders have to drive it into their organizations. A cohesiveness around core values first, and then understanding what the company's about in terms of core competencies, core value of the product or service, not just sort of employee core value. And that's the kind of thing. I'm less likely to leave an organization if I like the people. And I think a lot of retention is about the boss, right? So I will stay in OpenMarket because I believe firmly in my boss and the work that we're doing. I'm bought into. I've become a true believer in the effort that we're going through at OpenMarket. Product, whatever. It's an interesting product. Probably want to stop that for a minute.
I'll edit that out.
Okay. But I'm not passionate about mobile messaging, right? I'm passionate about where OpenMarket is as a business in a market that's evolving. We, as a senior leadership team, are evolving the business in a market that's evolving within a wireless market that's really dynamic to begin with. And leading the sales organization through those transitions is really interesting to me. So I may not go have fun every day at work, but I am sure interested. I'm engaged in this business, and as a result, I'm really loyal. You probably couldn't pay me to leave. It'd have to be a pretty special offer. Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to go back to the point you made about basically interviewing salespeople.
Yeah.
So salespeople tend to be good salespeople in that they can sell themselves.
Yeah.
Right? And I personally hate interviewing salespeople because I always end up hiring them.
Yeah.
How do you get past that? And then they don't perform in selling the company's solution as good as they sell themselves.
That's a great question. That is such a good question. I tell you, I've been doing this a long time, and I still make that mistake. And you will. I mean, I think you will make that mistake. I don't think there's any foolproof way not to. You've got to check references. Now, the salesperson's going to give you only good references. So tap into your network and look for people that you know that might be associated. Look at maybe some of their old clients and see what they thought. Tapping into your network will be a good resource for you. Yeah.
I was just going to add one nice thing, Tim, is that you already have idea of what you're looking for in the curiosity in your 4 C's, right? So I wonder if taking a model like that, because he's looking for a particular type of sale, right? I mean, he believes in that a consultative sale is going to be what works in his market, and so that's the sort of profile of the individual he's looking for. That individual has 4 characteristics, and so asking questions around those 4 characteristics. I've been in recruiting situations before where the person is trying to sell me, like the guy on the left-hand side of that very first slide. We can end this conversation early. Let's not waste each other's time, sort of thing. I mean, that so probing for those characteristics that lead you toward the type of sale that seems to be successful in your market might be a way to get past the fact that this person is going to be charismatic, this person is going to be interesting, this person is going to, right? In pharmaceuticals, they're going to be great looking, right? I mean, Alan's not here anymore. I was expecting something from him. But maybe that would help get you past that. Gosh, I like these people. Will you go with a beer with me after this interview?
The core value match too is, and I mean from a personal perspective, the question I ask in every interview now is, tell me about your core values as a person. Nobody answers it well, but it gets them thinking, and it helps me understand the way they think. So I've come to believe that matched core values is as important as skill set. The other thing I want to say before we move off this topic is, it's very likely you're going to hire a bad salesperson. How you deal with that is the most important thing. I mentioned salespeople really get 2 quarters with me if they miss their target pretty badly. And then they're gone. Because salespeople can tell you every reason that they didn't hit their number. It's not their fault, it's the product's fault, it's the customer lied, it's the market's falling apart. There's always a reason that a sale didn't close. But it doesn't matter because we've committed to an objective, right? There's a sales target that the sales leader has come up with, and come hell or high water, they have to hit that target. Hire slow, fire fast. Yeah.
A quick follow-up to that. How often do you find when you're interviewing people that you find someone who's great on the skill side, but you don't hire them because you don't like the fit? Does that happen often, or not so much once you've met the other bar?
Yeah, it's 50% of the people that maybe more, the people I talk to are a good skill fit, but not right for the company. Go ahead.
How stressful is your job?
I don't sleep a lot. Yeah, it's always something. I worry a lot about hitting the target. So a lot of that's about me and the way I'm wired. So I don't know that it's necessarily true of everybody, but
is that typically true for every salesperson, or?
Not necessarily, no. In fact, some of my fondest memories, I bounce between sales management and being an individual contributor salesperson for a long time because I love being in front of customers and finding solutions. For me, it's about helping an organization get better. So I think, if a salesperson's on target, they're probably a lot less stressed out than I am. It was true of me when I was a salesperson.
So you're talking about targets a lot. Realistically, are they imposed or are they mutually agreed?
That's a great question. They're imposed and influenced. So, OpenMarket has a parent company, publicly traded, multi-billion-dollar, 20,000 person company. The way it works is during the planning process, I come up with a sort of a ground-up number that I believe I can achieve. I give that to our general manager. He stuffs that in his back pocket.
When you say you believe you can achieve as an IC or as the org executive?
As the sales executive responsible for sales. So I give that number to my general manager. He's pitching to our parent company. There's a bunch of number crunchers that have looked at trends, and they forecast out a 2%, 3%, 7% increase based on how the company's performed over the last several quarters. And then they have a discussion, the general manager and the parent company. And ultimately it comes down to the general manager because the parent company has somebody that's responsible for our division that has several business units, and he's going to be doing essentially the same thing. He's going to find that he has a gap, right? It almost never comes up that you have more your target. You believe you can overachieve a target. And so he adds the business unit owner begins to fill those gaps in from the most likely places. Right? Places where, say it's $1 million, they'll take 70% of that gap from a company that has the highest revenue and the fastest growth rate. And just go around their business units until they have their gap filled, plus a little bit. So when I receive my target, I take that target, I add 6% to it. Say it's $1 million, I add 6% to that $1 million, and I roll it out to my sales directors. I base their targets on what their run rate is. So the companies that the business they've already done over the last 3 months, I take that, I forecast it out over the next year. If there's a gap, and there almost always is, with my target plus 6%, I then distribute that in the way I think is best amongst the sales directors. It's the exact same thing that's happening above me and above him. It's the same model. Is there another? Yeah.
So I think you were talking about, right, when the product is not a good fit, just walk away, right?
Yeah.
In scenarios where the product is, let's say, 70-80% fit, right, and you have 300 deals in the pipeline, how often or how much do you push the product teams, right, to make the deals happen? I'm looking at, especially from the startups, every deal is actually a big deal, right? Yeah. So you will bend over backwards to make it happen. Yeah. What's your philosophy? How do you kind of deal with it? Yeah. Do you kind of go in front of the client and protect your team, product team itself, or you just kind of put it in the front?
I think that probably depends on the business a little bit. So OpenMarket's a scale business. We need to be able to bring a lot of people onto our network in a way that we don't have to touch them much. Think about online services like Microsoft 365, Office 365. That's a scale business. They can't be tweaking their product for individual needs very much. So that's sort of one end of the spectrum. The other is a startup where every deal is critical, and that information that you're gathering from your prospects is going to help you shape an offering to the market that's more attractive. So I think in an early stage company, I'd be more flexible in terms of product features and more flexible in terms of how I go to market with those. As the business gets more mature, and depending on the business model, you're probably going to have a lot less flexibility. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think I was just trying to kind of see if you walk away or if you try to just kind of, position the deal in a way where you kind of say, you know what, to the client, we don't have it. You kind of just admit that rather than trying to say, oh, we almost have it, and then try to buy some time.
So I think it's, my philosophy on that is as long as you're transparent about it, as long as your prospect knows what they're getting, then I don't think you need to walk away from the deal if they're willing to accept it. The other thing you can do is, remember, you have this whole network of people that you've developed. They may be able to do something to augment what you can do, right? So you may bring in a sub into a deal to do, add a layer of web services on top of whatever your product is to get the client where they need where they need to be.
To follow up on that a little more, could you talk about how making that very first sale is different from the end sale? Like, what will you do if you're? How do you make your very first sale?
In early stage companies,
Yeah, in
the
an
very
early
first
stage
sale.
company. Your very first sale for the company.
Yeah.
Not for the sale for the company.
I go to find somebody that's willing to take a bet, probably on me as an individual, and I do whatever they tell me to. And then.
So it's really about the personal dynamic.
Well, I think it's really about a willingness to meet that client's need, right? The first sale, I think, is probably the hardest. Is that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Do you think if you didn't have targets, you could sell more in the long run? Like, I feel like I would respond poorly to have if I were a salesperson, this is probably why I'm not. If I didn't have sales targets, I think I would probably sell more in the long run because I wouldn't. First of all, there's like the stress and the constant worrying about it, but then there's also things like if I've already hit my target for this quarter and I have a deal ready to go through, maybe I'll like delay that person and not give them what they want for another 10 days so that
Totally
they can register against the next quarter. And so it just seems like if you're really focused on the long term of your business, it might make sense to not have or to have targets but not like hard targets. I don't know.
So one of the things I do is people that overachieve. And so a philosophy that I have is I take things from underachievers to give to overachievers. People that overachieve, that get over the 100% of their target, get it comped at 125% for every dollar that they bring in over their target. Hopefully that's disincentivizing that sort of end of the quarter game plan. People that know they aren't going to hit their target will absolutely delay deals to have them early in the next quarter. I haven't found a way to stop that.
Yeah. No, that's been, as opposed to I'm going to delay the sale because I've already hit my number, the behavior I sometimes see is this quarter is bad, so we'll use we'll throw the baby in the bathwater out, right? We're going to make this one suck totally because I'm priming my pump for next quarter. I have to say, for those that do, because I'm sure it happens, I just don't see them. From a CFO's perspective, those that are managing their sales pipeline to kind of to be really close to their numbers, yay! It might mean I pay him a lower bonus, but for me, it's super predictable company you just gave me, right?
Yeah.
And it's not that your targets didn't go up, right? It's not that there isn't growth built into your targets. So if you're hitting your numbers and you're creating a firm pipeline for future periods, that's gold for me.
And it's
weird?
interesting, as big as a public company that needs to report to the market, you want to be within 5% of your target. Being over is bad. Way over is bad. Being way under is bad. I believe most salespeople are wired to achieve the target. I think, for me, I want to know when I've been successful. I just had this conversation with my boss. In Q1, it was 99% of target. And from as weird as this sounds, that's a failure for me. Anything below 100% is a failure. 100% is on-target achievement, and anything above is a win. So that might just be my weird personality quirk.
If I was that close, I would say it's management's fault for setting targets. But it makes me think of it more like sometimes there's some people are trying to squeeze in deals at the last minute. That can be sometimes really good for the customer and then with the loyalty if they reduce the prices. I leverage that to negotiate a personal trainer at a publicly traded gym, like just a few days before their fiscal reporting quarter. That really makes a deal, and that might be staying there for like the next year.
Yeah. People shop for cars on December 31st. I mean, it can happen. But the way we protect against that is we have discount authority. So salespeople can discount 20%. Sales directors can discount 40%. I can discount up to 80%. product then needs to discount anything above that.
What's left?
You know, if you do a huge deal, it can be substantial. And we've our street rate, so our normal contracted rate is pretty high. So we have some room.
Does that feel sometimes like you're always on sale then?
It doesn't.
Your list price is always doesn't ever happen.
It does for small deals.
Okay.
You know, we're in a commoditized marketplace, and it's becoming more commoditized. So even though we're just not accepting small deals anymore. But we do sell it. In fact, we sold Disney at twice our street rate because we were displacing a higher cost for them. Right? We brought them a value. Our value to them was tremendous. It was you know, displacing a $9 call with a 50-cent text message.
I'll cut that last part out too.
Those were made up numbers.
Well, the fact that they're paying twice street rate.
Yeah, I probably should cut that.
Yeah.
I'm non-PR.
When you're doing these larger deals that maybe like our product, our professional services, how do you tailor that to the deal if you don't just don't talk about pricing?
So the way I work professional services deals is I go to our professional services organization. I go to them with the scope, and I get a firm commitment from them on the level of effort. We have a daily rate for our dev day rate for our engineers that gets applied to the project, and then there's the product rates that get added on top of that. There's also a discount authority for the daily rate, less for that. So our discount authority table goes on a product by product basis. So we can discount labor rates less than we can a monthly service fee.
In Microsoft, we have to go through our annual business compliance training. This is just to improve the ethical standards of employees. And 80% of the cases are about salespeople.
Yeah.
Like he bribed the government official or to achieve the sales bonus. They booked certain sales which have not been met. So how do you deal with the ethical cases in your company? Do you see as many instances in your own company?
Oh yeah. Yeah. There's business processes put in place. If a salesperson's giving somebody $100,000 to try to buy a deal, and then they try to expense that, we're probably going to have some questions. So there's expense policy ways that we deal with that. Contracts all run through our legal organization, so salespeople aren't running their own contracts. We had a situation where it was alleged. I actually still don't know if it happened that some of our partners were paying our salespeople for leads, which is against our policy. I still don't know if that's true, but a close relationship with their sales director helps that kind of thing. Part of it's also hiring the right salespeople. Bribing somebody is not something that would ever cross my mind. And if you're hiring salespeople to your core values of your business, hopefully you're getting the right personality types as well. I spent a lot of time over here. Is there anybody over here with?
Yeah, I guess actually on that same question, do you do anything to promote ethical culture within your sales force, or do you, is there anything on that when you talk about business structures? But does that come up for you?
Hopefully the culture that we're developing in the business promotes that.